Travis Wayne Goodsell. There might be some wards in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, although they now say that Jesus is angry when you say Mormon or LDS Church. No, it was Nelson who said this, not the Lord. In his announcement for conference, he says, "You're welcome to hear the voice of the Lord." No, we're hearing your voice and other men's and a few women's voices. So speaking of voices, in the Fast and Testimony meetings, which some may have it this Sunday, if you didn't have it before conference at the end of last month. And at the Rameumptums across the land, whether or not you had it before or after conference, you have them first Sunday of every month. And Mormons get up and give the same rote testimony, similar to rote prayers, which are an abomination to God, because you're not talking with Him, you're talking to Him in a rote prayer. You might as well be casting a spell, abracadabra, hocus pocus, my girlfriend will now love me, or that woman will now love me, because I've cast a spell on her. Yeah, isn't that the way it works? Well, Mormons say stuff like, "I know Joseph Smith is a translator." Or they'll say, if they're more enlightened, "I know Joseph Smith is a translator by the gift and power of God. And I know that the Book of Mormon is true." See, these are just blanket generalized statements that are rote for Mormons to say, and you'll hear little kids, underage 8-year-old, less than 8-year-olds, who get up and they're adorably cute. But it's then horrific to hear them say stuff that they don't know. But they say that they're parroting what adults do. Because that's what little kids do, is they're trying to learn how to be adults. And adults do this? Oh, then I need to do it in order to become an adult. And as a result, Mormons shield themselves from scientific evidence and facts that establish reality and truth. Mormons are not living in reality, therefore. They go around telling people on their missions, "Oh yeah, Joseph Smith got golden plates, even though they say gold in the scriptures. We don't believe it's gold. It may even be copper, because we don't believe that it's gold." Are you sure you want to contradict the church? See, the church says, no, Joseph Smith is not a translator. So those of you who are claiming he's a translator are lying, because the church says you're lying. You're going against the church. All this confusion. What does science tell us about the authorship of the Book of Mormon? We turn to the Wikipedia page on Sidney Rigdon. There's a section titled Rigdon as purported author of the Book of Mormon. Uh-oh. If Sidney Rigdon is the author of the Book of Mormon, all of your testimonies are lies. You are bearing false witness. It also means the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are false prophets. They've been deceiving and lying to you. They've been putting up one rock as Joseph Smith's magic rock that he put into a hat, and that he looked into it and received revelation, gift and power of God, to be the author of the Book of Mormon. not Sidney Rigdon. But if science is holding out here, the church is in trouble. Now, how do we distinguish? Do we just deny science? Oh, no, reality is not real. Truth isn't true. Crime isn't crime. Sound familiar? Remember Rudy Giuliani? Mr. Pants Grabber during an underage girl thing. I think she was older, but still, it was disturbing. But kind of a better movie than his previous ones. Not Rudy's, but the Sacha Baron Cohen. And so, spiritual witness can't be physically confirmed. You can't judge it. You can't identify truth versus falsehood. It can't be done. Matthew 7, which is also in the Book of Mormon, says, by their fruits you will know a false prophet. But if a false prophet only tells you a spiritual witness, oh no, what do we do? How do we show he's a false prophet? I'm sorry, the consequences. If you can't produce fruit, you're a false prophet. You have to allow your words to produce results. And so, even though the church claims one rock in a hat, if Sidney Rigdon is confirmed to be the author of the Book of Mormon, the church is false, the prophets are false, all Mormons lie. And you need to turn in your temple recommends, because you are required, according to the question, are you honest in all your dealings? And if you are bearing false witness, you are not being honest in all your dealings. So let's go to this Wikipedia page and go over it and see what's in here that we can glean. Rigdon has been named as a potential author for the Book of Mormon. According to this theory, if it hasn't been tested, the theory needs to be dropped. You need to be able to produce the fruit and the consequences so that you can determine whether the theory is false or true. You know, the light bulb guy, Thomas Edison, when he failed with the light bulb the first time, and I think he failed like 1,000 or so times, I don't know the number, but he failed a lot. If he just came up with the idea of a light bulb, and he then even built it, maybe, if he never tests it, he'll never know whether it's a legitimate thing or not. You won't know if it gives light. You have to test it. And he tested it, found out he was wrong. So he scrapped that plan, figured out a new one, and then figured out a new one, and then figured out a new one, until he finally got one that worked. It is said that when you keep doing the same thing over and over again, but expect a different result, you're mentally ill. And so, yeah, that's important to understand here. There are apologists who use fallacy. I had another guy reemerge to claim, I'm the one who did a map match of the Book of Mormon and therefore it's true. Who cares? The Book of Mormon can only be true if we have the plates. We don't have the plates, so now we have to do a linguistic scientific analysis and test to see who the actual author is. See, authorship is not the same thing as plagiarizing somebody else's work. That would reveal others who published books as the author of the Book of Mormon, not Sidney Rigdon. But the claim is that Sidney Rigdon is the author. Pay attention to that. There's a big difference. And so they claim, according to this theory, Rigdon obtained from a Pittsburgh publisher a manuscript from a historical novel written by Solomon Spaulding, and by reworking it and adding a theological component, had created the Book of Mormon. No, none of that is needed. You first find out the linguistic signature of the book. The linguistic signature, if the Book of Mormon were, sneeze coming on, the linguistic signature, if the Book of Mormon were a real history of the ancient indigenous people of America, would show that the signature is not contemporary with any author of that time period that had a published work. And so doing a linguistic scientific test would have helped the Book of Mormon. It would have shown, hey, we can't recognize who these authors are. We can't find a match to any contemporary in the early 1800s. Except, oops, there are dozens of contemporary matches. But that's not what we're looking for first. We're focusing on the one to Sidney Rigdon. Because the late war, there's no connection with the church. Sidney Rigdon has a connection with the church because he joins in December of 1830. There's a connection to the church. So all of these other authors, Charles Anthon even, yes, he published a dictionary, well, republished another edition of a classical dictionary of ancient names and places. They were used in the Book of Mormon after Martin Harris went to him and, and was rejected by him. So, yeah, Solomon Spaulding should not be involved yet. First, you do a linguistic test to find out if there are any contemporary matches. And if you can't find one, hey, we have a potential legitimate claim for what they're claiming, that it's an ancient indigenous record, historical fact. And we don't have that. The church is lying to you. The prophets are false. Your testimonies are in vain. You are lying. You are bearing false witness. But we're going to continue to go on here because there's some other problems. It first appeared in 1831 in an article by James Gordon Bennett, who had visited Palmyra, Manchester area and interviewed several residents. The theory of Rigdon's use of this first appeared in a print in 1834, Mormonism Unveiled. It later appeared in 1867, Origin, Rise, and Progress of Mormonism by Pomeroy Tucker, in which he says Smith was visited by a mysterious stranger as early as 1827, who Tucker implies played a role in the creation of the Book of Mormon, and later identifies the stranger as Rigdon. Somebody's missing from this. Because if you've been paying attention to my videos, there's more to this story. And with Brigham Young, the video I did yesterday, oh my God, there's even more. This theory and the testimony of Rigdon to his son John, just prior to Rigdon's death, and long after he had ceased an affiliation with any of the sects of Mormonism, contradict each other. Really? So, scientifically established as the author of the Book of Mormon, but he said he wasn't? So, oh no, what do we do? I guess we'll let spiritual witness decide. No, science trumps whatever we claim. You all claim Joseph Smith is the translator, gift and power of God, map matches, we found horses, we found the name Alma as a man, and all these other things that apologists claim. No. All of this is excessive. Linguistic science has established Sidney Rigdon is the major author of the Book of Mormon. Period. That's it. That's all. So now the question is, what do we do with that information? We've got to now plug it in to a reevaluation of the whole history of the church. Now we can then say, oh, okay, well, Solomon Spaulding, do we have anything that says that the Solomon Spaulding manuscript are among those dozens of plagiarisms that Kwaku says is proof of the truth of the Book of Mormon? Oh, consistencies. It's called plagiarism, Kwaku. Dear God. So here's the quote from Rigdon to his son. My son, I can swear before high heaven that what I have told you about the origin of the Book of Mormon is true. Your mother and sister, Mrs. Athalia Robinson, were present when that book was handed to me in Mentor, Ohio. And all I ever knew about the origin of the Book of Mormon was what Parley P. Pratt, he's also found in there. Uh-oh. Oliver Cowdery, he's also found in there. Joseph Smith, not found in there. And the witnesses who claim they saw the plates have told me. And in all of my intimacy with Joseph Smith, he never told me about one story. However, Rigdon's grandson, Walter Sidney Rigdon, stated in an interview that the family knew that the Golden Bible, gold, isn't it, was a hoax contrived by Rigdon and Joseph Smith to make money, and that it was based on the Spaulding manuscript. Really? To make money. See, again, we're having people making claims without testing for accuracy. See, here they're saying it was also Joseph Smith who was involved in the authorship. But he's not. And so the grandson is also lying to us. Here's a 2008 computer analysis of the Book of Mormon text supports this theory. No, it confirms. Don't belittle computer testing. When you plug in the factors, it's able to identify matches. I have a scripture computer program where I can type in keywords and it will tell me where they are located in the whole quad of the Mormon Church. If I don't put in the right word, if I put in Redeemer instead of Savior, I'm not going to find the passage that talks about Savior. I'm only going to find the ones that talk about Redeemer. And so computers are perfect for running scientific testing. Unless you're trying to establish that the trade towers fell with the force of gravity, a free fall, not by some other explosive means. Forgetting to put in that factor in the computer math program. But anyway, remember the BYU professor Yeah, the church silenced him. The physics professor. All right. It says, although the study does not include Joseph Smith in the author sample, because Joseph Smith has no samples, on the ground that few pure examples of Smith's writings are extant. He always dictated to other people, and those other people put it in their words. That's how we can identify other scribes with various passages. And so it doesn't matter if we don't find Joseph Smith. We found Sidney Rigdon. That's all that's needed. If we have Sidney Rigdon, then Joseph Smith is not the author. We don't need to test for him anymore. We don't need any other thing. We've confirmed. See, when you're doing an investigation for a crime, when you have a match with the forensics, you don't keep investigating every single person in town and throughout the nation and throughout the world. We have to keep going and confirm who is not. No, you've confirmed who is. That's all you need. You're done. You found the criminal. In here, they tested Sidney Rigdon. Ba-boom, bada-bing, abracadabra. Sidney Rigdon's the author. End of story. We're done. Now, you can see that he doesn't have every single place in the Book of Mormon. So those other places, you now need to search for another author. And they've done that. And they've found Polly P. Pratt, Oliver Cowdery, and the 1769 King James Version of the Bible. And they've found in the underlining texts taken from dozens of other contemporary books. But then they throw in the church's defense that they're not false prophets. And it says several other significant problems are apparent. No, they're not. In the methodology of this computer analysis. No, they're not. Specifically, the use of closed set methodology instead of open set methodology. I call BS. They're trying to claim, no, we need to keep looking for the criminal. We need For example, the original methodology, when replicated, also assigns Rigdon as the probable author of the Federalist Papers. No, it doesn't. Because what they're actually showing is that Sidney Rigdon plagiarized the Federalist Papers in some of his speeches, his sermons. That's what it's indicating. Sidney Rigdon had access to the Federalist Papers. And they won't let you know this because you don't understand what they're talking about by closed set methodology and open set methodology, which were written 5 years before his birth. Yes, he plagiarized them. Same with Solomon Spaulding's manuscript. It says he's the author of Solomon Spaulding's manuscript, according to their theory. It says that Sidney Rigdon is the author of all the contemporary plagiarisms. Do you not understand what they're vainly arguing here to defend the prophets as true? It's not the same thing as the Bible Code guy who said, you know, I'm willing to bet that if you were to do any other book, you couldn't replicate this process. You can try Moby Dick, and you couldn't do it. Well, there were two guys who developed a computer program like his computer program for his Bible code and put in Moby Dick, bada boop, bada boom. Yep, here it is. We did it. You can do it here too. And so that's a situation where, no, you're wrong. The Bible code is not for real. There is no secret God message in the Bible. So, oh man. But I noticed, I didn't see, there's another Wikipedia site talking about Spalding Rigdon theory of Book of Mormon authorship. The Book of Mormon was plagiarized. No, that's not the theory. Because Sidney Rigdon could have created it all from his own mind rather than using other books. You first test for authorship, then you test to find out who those authors' publications are, if you find other manuscript stuff. But with Rigdon, we have a we have a direct match to the church, an involvement with the church, because he joined the church. Let's see. Spalding's works, not necessary. Rigdon. Bennett, Rigdon's denial, later statements supporting it. It doesn't matter who supports and who doesn't. Science, linguistics. Out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses doesn't do anything if science already has done it for you. But yeah, there's quite a few supporting views. There's 1841 Adamson Bentley, 1873 Darwin Atwater, 1879 Rebecca Eichbaum. I'm pretty sure that would be German, not Eichbaum. 1884 Lorenzo Saunders, and then somebody, son of Patterson and Lambden Book Publishers, who wrote the Book of Mormon. Doesn't give a date for it. Robert Patterson, 2017. Seriously? No, that. And Rigdon's grandson. J.H. Beadle's version of the theory in the book Life in Utah, 1870. He wrote a version of the theory, was presented with some additional details. States that in 1812, my goodness, Spalding presented manuscript found to a bookseller named Patterson in Pittsburgh, wishing to have it published as a historical romance to account for the settlement of America, and proposing to write a fictional preface describing its having been taken from plates dug up in Ohio. Patterson declined, as he did not think the enterprise would pay. Beadle states that Rigdon was then at work in the office of Patterson, who died in 1826. Spalding had died of tuberculosis in 1816, and apparently the manuscript had not been returned, because the subsequent fate of that copy of the manuscript was said by Beadle to be unknown. According to Beadle, Spalding's widow had another complete copy, but in the year 1825, while residing in Ontario County, New York, next door to a man named Strode, for whom Joe Smith was digging a well, you mean Josiah Stoll? Martin Harris. Martin Harris was the one who needed a well dug. The silver mine was Josiah stole. That copy was also lost. But next door is interesting because I've found that Sidney Rigdon, I've done his research on this, had moved next door to Harmony, where Joseph Smith was working with Josiah Stoll in the silver mine and staying with the Emma Hale's family, and thus eloped with Emma. Should not have had him staying there if you don't want your daughter marrying that hooligan glass looker. That copy was also, yeah, there is some connections here with Beadle's version. He's just getting some information incorrect, because there is no Strode. There's Harris, who hired Joseph Smith to dig a well. That's why they knew of Martin Harris, to pay for the Book of Mormon. But he insisted on being a part of the translation process, which screwed things up, and so they had to figure out some way to distract Martin Harris away from the project. But all of this information is after you have accepted that Sidney Rigdon is the author. If you continue to deny and live in your spiritual witness fantasy world, all of this is just wrong to you. But once you accept the science reality that Sidney Rigdon is the author, now you look at this stuff to figure out the real church history. And as you can see, I'm able to look at this Beadle version and identify what he was doing and where he went wrong, and able to glean extra information because of his errors, and able to confirm things as a result of his errors. Mrs. Spaulding thinks it was stolen from her trunk. Well, the kids also came out finding another manuscript by their father in a trunk, and it's a different variation of his original manuscript found. And in this version, it's a Roman period piece rather than an ancient Israel piece coming to America. And so there were some subtle differences. We have that Roman piece. You can find it online and obtain your own PDF copy of it. But it's not going to be a match in the Book of Mormon because he made changes. Let's see. Seems to be an abridgment of that in the 1855 book, The Mormons, their book, Prophets and Mysteries. There, Rigdon was a journeyman printer for the publisher, Patterson in Philadelphia. And see, they're saying Philadelphia rather than Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Spaulding brought the manuscript to Patterson. They could not come to terms as to its publication, and Spaulding left a copy with Patterson, who was intrigued with the story and often read bits aloud to various people. Rigdon would sometimes borrow the manuscript and read it to his co-workers for their amusement. Are you sure Rigdon? Or was it Solomon Spaulding? And that's why they recognized Solomon Spaulding's work, though Rigdon was fascinated by its oddity and protested it sounded vastly like truth with all its absurdities. Rigdon obtained the manuscript when Patterson died in 1826. No. So yeah, some major errors, however, does give us clues as to the true history. And I did the video on instructing you how to do real church history. And so this information, for example, you set to the side until you can't find any more clues to search for. Then you go to this and you say, oh, okay, well, I've got this now to check out, and then this and this and this. This does give you some more avenues to search for information. Like I said, once you've found the answer, you don't need any of that anymore. That's why when map makers come to me, I don't need you. I've already established the truth through science. That's why I don't listen to Mormons' testimonies. Travis, the Book of Mormon is the most correct book on the face of the earth and is a true book, and it is translated by the gift and power of God. Yeah, I don't listen to you. I already know Sidney Rigdon is the author. I already know a bunch of other stuff that you're not listening to those videos. Like Harmony, for example, or the Coopersmith shop, as I had to make a correction myself, because the book I published was about the Coppersmith shop. Oops. Yeah, I thought it was a misspelling on the map, because I didn't know what a Coopersmith shop was. But then when I found the error, somebody brought it to my attention, I checked it out and went, oh, okay, so then a Coopersmith shop, it uses copper for gunpowder. Oh. So the truth, oh, Daniel Peterson, what are you putting him in here for? He is a joke. He's the one who banned me from farms, by the way. Saying that Joseph Smith is not a translator. You're causing contention by saying that he is. Yeah, I will cause a contention. Joseph Smith is a translator of Biblical Hebrew and Egyptian. I said nothing about the Book of Mormon. So, yeah. He's just denying. There is little or no evidence supporting the Spalding-Rigdon theory. No, there's conclusive evidence. See? Mormons just deny. And yeah, I understand. It means the church is false. The prophets are liars. They're false prophets. But, yeah, very sophisticated statistical analysis renders it deeply improbable, and only desperate necessity would ever have given rise. See, I don't know why they put him in here. This is absurd claim. Get rid of him. Just because he opposes does not make him an authority on the matter. He has no scientific excuse to denounce Rigdon as the author. He's got nothing to test for. He's just saying, nope, not true. Nope. 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 So, he says it must be placed in a larger historical context of the advent of Mormonism. Even so, it doesn't even begin to explain the witnesses. Yeah, I did that video too. Somebody put it in a later edition at the back of the book. It's a different type print. And the Doctrine and Covenants? What do you mean explain the Doctrine and Covenants? Doctrine and Covenants has nothing to do with this. Oh, you mean section 3 and 10? Really? I did those videos. Have you ever heard about the Doctrine and Covenants code that they attempted to decode in 1981 for that edition of the triple combination? Yeah, they missed some. I've been doing those videos for you too. See, this is the problem that Mormons are having with me, is I've already done the video about Sidney Rigdon as the author. Mormons didn't watch it, and so when I branch out and do other videos based on Sidney Rigdon as the author, Mormons don't refer to the original video, and so they're like, no, Travis, this is completely wrong. You're a deceiver, Travis. And so, dear God. See, here they have the computer analysis. Computer analysis of the authorship of the Book of Mormon have resulted in conflicting results. No. No. Early word print or computer studies led by the Mormon Foundation for Apologetic Information and Research. Yeah, that's not legitimate. You have to put in the proper mathematical formulas, but it says, claiming that the Sidney Spalding-Rigdon theory to have little support from such analysis. What? A 1980 study done by Mormon John Hilton with non-Mormon colleagues at Berkeley concluded that the probability of Spalding having been the sole author of the first book of Nephi was less than 7.29 times 10 to the negative 28 power, and less than 3 times 10 to the negative 11 for the Book of Alma. Do you see what they're doing there? They're saying that because Sidney Rigdon is not the author of the whole book, it therefore must be wrong. The other computer analysis that I was on the other page says no, Sidney Rigdon is the major author identified for these passages, which are the majority of passages in the Book of Mormon. And then there's Parley P. Pratt, a little at the beginning, a little at the end, and I think there might be some in the middle, but very few. Almost as if they wanted Parley P. Pratt to read the book and identify in the beginning some of his stuff, keep him reading with some scattered stuff in the middle, and then at finishing with some of his stuff at the end, so that he can go, wow, it's as if I had written this book. This is awesome. I'm going to go show it to the pastor at my church, Sidney Rigdon. Ah, now we've got another connection here, don't we? And then you got to find out, how did Sidney Rigdon get paid by the Smiths? Because they had to get Martin Harris to pay for the publication of the book. But how did Sidney Rigdon get paid? Was it through money, or was it some other compensation? What did he do when he first joined the church? Yeah, the revision of the Bible, the whole Bible. Yeah, if you know anything about Sidney Rigdon's life with the Campbellites and Alexander Campbell only wanting to do the New Testament, and Sidney Rigdon leaving, and then he became Joseph Smith's first counselor the whole time? The #1 advisor? And Sidney Rigdon was able to put in his Campbellite Baptist altered religious beliefs? The baptism of 8-year-olds at a minimum, rather than child baptisms? Laying on of hands for transfer of authority and power? Sacrament on the Sabbath with sermons, of which he now has a larger audience to speak with? Yeah, he was compensated very well. Those are the things you look for in a police investigation. You always follow the money. You follow the money here. And wow, Sidney Rigdon was well compensated. And so why did he have to keep it a secret from his son, or at least as his son claims? And why does his grandson have the information incorrect? What's going on? Why does Lucy Mack Smith, in her unedited version of her diary, if you know about that, refer to Joseph Smith about her being Presbyterian? As to my being Presbyterian, I refer you to Joseph Smith's words on that matter. Mother, I have learned for myself that Presbyterianism is not true. Does that not strike anybody as weird? So, there's a Jockers study, a 2008 Stanford study, Jockers et al., of the text of the Book of Mormon, comparing it to writings of possible authors of the text, showed a high probability that the authors of the book were Spalding, Rigdon, Cowdery. There are more. Like I said, dozens are in the Book of Mormon. It concluded that our analysis supports the theory that the Book of Mormon was written by multiple 19th century authors. And more specifically, we find strong support for the Spalding-Rigdon theory of authorship. In all the data, we find Rigdon as a unifying force. You mean author? The redactor? His signal dominates the book. And where other candidates are more probable, Rigdon is often hiding in the shadows. The study did not include Smith as one of the possible arguers, no tax. He had nothing to do with it anyway. Smith Sr., however, did. Nobody's pointing out to any of his stuff. Well, the Tanners do, with his dreams of the Tree of Life. And they also connect him with the New Israelites, but they're not making the connection to Jewish mysticism. That's me. Joe Sampson is another Mormon who believes that he found proof of the Book of Mormon's truth with an additional plagiarism of Jewish mystical writings. Oops. Just like John Welsh, the Chiasmus boy. Oops, late war. So, yeah, all these Mormons who think they've found matches to prove the Book of Mormon's truth are just another Kwaku who do not understand that plagiarism is not proof of the truth of the Book of Mormon. Consistencies! And so, here we have Mormon critics. No, it's not true. You lie! Science is wrong! Claiming a naive application of NSC methodology. Misleading results. No, guys. They just cannot accept the truth. Because it means their church is false, means the prophets are false, that means the prophets are lying. And what is their alternative agenda then? If the prophets are lying, they know they're lying. It was re-exposed with the Netflix video on Murder Among the Mormons with Mark Hoffman. Because the church paid him and then hid the documents from Mormons so that nobody would ever find out about the salamander that Mark Hoffman created. If they were true prophets and the church was true and they were telling us the true history, they would have known, no, this is a false document. Where did you say you got this from? Take us to it. Show us. Let's get some forensic people involved here and do a linguistic analysis. Let's find out what's going on. And then Mark Hoffman would have been sweating and trying to, no, you need to trust me. I found this is real. I got a bomb. Everybody stay back. And so, yeah, the church could have been the ones exposing him if they were true prophets. They're not, and so they didn't. And then people died. And the church got exposed as frauds. It should say it in here. They're not saying it. The claim that he didn't join the church until after the church was organized. Let's see. The Jocker study also found a strong Spalding signal in the books of Mosiah, Alma, and Ether in the first half of the book of Helaman. The Spalding signal was weak in the Lost Pages incident. I wonder why. I wonder if the Lost Pages would have been a strong signal for Spalding had they not been burned by Martin Harris, who was then taken off the Book of Mormon manuscript work. In Harmony, Pennsylvania. Some of 3rd Nephi and Moroni. 3rd Nephi? You mean like 3rd Nephi chapter 11? This is where the code comes in, guys. These are from Revelation about the calendar dates for the last days. What are they doing in the Book of Mormon? Are the Smiths involved in coding? What? Wait a minute. The Doctrine and Covenants was coded? Why not anything else? Why is the Joseph Smith history of 1838 wrong on so many levels? Why is it not correct? You mean it's coded? The Book of Mormon. It's not a real history. Is it possible it's coded? Do you not see? I've been helping you the whole time with the truth. But because you missed the part where Sidney Rigdon's the author, you just throw your spiritual witness at me. And you're the one who's wrong. Let's see. And a weak Pratt signal in 1st Nephi. Yeah, because they wanted to use him to get to separate from Sidney, but bring him in to pay him. And so when you study Pratt's life, you realize how ingenious it all was. They just happened to have missionaries that happened to bump into Pratt, who happened to be in the area where he got the Book of Mormon from them. It's the mysteries of God. Let's see. They found a strong Cowdery signal in mid-Alma. Alma 32, to be precise. I wonder what that's talking about. Oh, verse 28. We will liken the word unto a seed, if you do not cast it out by your unbelief. This is also the same pattern from the Tree of Life dream. See, Laman and Lemuel cast out the seed with their unbelief. The rest of the family believed and clung to the iron rod and got to the Tree of Life and partook of the fruit. And that's the agricultural science. And Mormons say, no, our spiritual witness tells us we don't need to cling to the iron rod to prove in the physical reality the fruit of the consequences. We'd rather be Laman and Lemuel. Laman and Lemuel had a spiritual witness that their father was wrong, and they chose not to believe him. They wanted to murder him. Spiritual witness sounds like a bad thing. We weaker Cowdery signals in locations that contain content similar to Ethan Smith's view of the Hebrews. No, the computer study did not find Ethan Smith's view of the Hebrews. It was content similar, if you pay attention here. They did not plagiarize. Ethan Smith came after the Smiths left and took over the congregation. And again, which congregation? You have to do your research. You need to find out that they're the Congregationalists. I don't think it's Congregationalists. It is. Congregationalists. The Smiths and the Cowderys were Congregationalists. Nobody tells you this. There's connection to Smith being a rodsman of Nathaniel Woods, but he was a Congregationalist. He was technically excommunicated from the Congregationalists, but then formed his own religion right there next to the Congregationalist church that the Cowderys and Smiths went to, and did his own little thing there, and then the wood scrape occurred. And the Smiths and the Cowderys went back to their regular congregation. Smiths then moved around and went to Palmyra, and then Ethan Smith moved in, the Congregationalist, took over the Congregationalist church there, and the Cowderys, and that's when he published View of the Hebrews, as after the Smiths left. And so Cowdery, yeah, he knew of it, as well as William Cowdery. Notice William Cowdery is not mentioned here either, along with Smith Sr. I wonder what role they may have had to play, as they were the ones who originated with the source of church history. Why are they not being analyzed? Scholars of Mormon University. You mean BYU? Closed set analysis. No, you need to keep looking for other explanations. No. It means he had access to the Federalist Papers and copied from them in his sermons. It wasn't Sidney Rigdon. See, they're focusing on the one thing. They're not doing any other thing. They don't understand plagiarism, or they don't want people to understand plagiarism. And I don't see that. They've taken it out. By using Smith's personal writings, written in his own handwriting. Wait a minute, I thought we didn't have his writings. The Shalje rebuttal concluded the stylometric evidence supports neither Smith nor Spalding Rigdon authorship. What? Who is this Shalje? Where did he come in? Both Schucker and Shalje's method correctly picked Hamilton. When Hamilton was included, well, yeah, because obviously Sidney Rigdon did not have access to Hamilton and did not plagiarize Hamilton. I don't understand. Jocker's methodology picked Rigdon when Hamilton was excluded. Alright, hold on here. By using Jockler's methodology to analyze the known authorship of the Federalist Papers, by including and excluding Alexander Hamilton as a candidate author, Jocker's method picked Rigdon when Hamilton was excluded. Okay. That means that Rigdon had access to the Federalist Papers. When using Skalje's open set method, I see what's going on here. The Skalje's method picked none of the above. And, you know, but with this open method, it backfired on the apologists. Because using Smith's personal writings, written in his own handwriting, and where did we get those? You mean Mark Hoffman? It just shows the book title or article that they did. But yeah, they ran their open method testing, and Smith's not the author of the Book of Mormon either. And so therefore they're able to conclude somebody else is, like I said. But no, there are dozens of contemporaries. Whatever they're doing with this open method is just not right. It's not scientific. It's just a method to deny anything and everything. Because I'd be willing to bet, well, we can't, because they don't exist. Moroni, Mormon, Nephi, they don't exist. We're not going to find any more documents from them. So there's nothing to test for. Do you see what the church apologists are doing here? They've set up a scenario that can never be proven, never be tested, never confirmed whether true or false. And you have to establish a test that can confirm or deny. Without a test to confirm or deny, what are you wasting our time for? That's what spiritual witnesses are. They're a waste of our time. They can never be tested for truth or falsehood. They just are wrong. You have to follow the iron rod and get to the tree of life, so that we can then judge you by your spiritual witness. Oh, okay. Well, that spiritual witness was wrong, just like claiming Sidney Rigdon's not the author. It's not complicated. But apparently the church wants it to, because it destroys the church. And this is an hour-long video, isn't it? Oh, man. Okay.